to our kids, this time a video cast rather than a podcast. And I have young Charlie and his mum Beth here. Thanks very much for coming in. I first saw Charlie, I think he was about 8 years old, and the message we want to kind of send to parents is that you don't have to wait until your kid has all their permanent teeth before you seek an orthodontic opinion. And in Charlie's case, with his poor nasal breathing and his disrupted sleep and things like that, the focus of treatment wasn't just to make his teeth look good, it was to drop that palate down. And I always like to show parents that when you look at the width of the top jaw, or what we call the palate, and the floor of the nose, is basically the same bone. So anything we do here has a pretty good influence on here. Do you recall what sort of worries you had?
Oh, I couldn't really smell very much, and I wasn't getting like good sleep and stuff like that.
Yep. And now that we've widened your jaw and your teeth are almost straight, what's the difference?
I can like breathe better and smell stuff better and stuff like that, and I'm getting a lot more sleep.
Excellent.
Better quality sleep.
That's great. Yeah, because it's not just about cosmetic alignment of the teeth. We're trying to get health benefits. I think in Charlie's case, can you see how narrow your nasal cavity was there?
Yeah.
Once we widen, one of the big changes that we see, other than the teeth, is the change that happens to your breathing. See that black? That's a lot more air. Right?
Yeah.
So if I just show people the top jaw from where you started, you still had a lot of baby teeth, but that's good because we widened before you got your adult teeth, so that way we were able to fit all your adult teeth in, and you can compare that jaw to this jaw, you can see the tremendous change, right?
Yeah.
The other thing Charlie had, from a parent's point of view, he had an overbite, what we call in the technical terms a class 2 jaw. And a class 2 jaw simply means that the lower jaw is too far back. So when you look at a kid's airway, the upper part of the jaw is all about the nasal breathing. The lower part of the jaw is all about where the tongue is going to sit. And when he was a young kid, and when I looked at his throat, when he was lying down in the dental chair, basically his tongue was in the palate, right? And if you look at the newer x-ray, which is again the side view showing how much his jaw has come forward, you can see that tremendous opening of the airway. Now these aren't the most current x-rays because I think we're going to do that just before his braces come off. But I think the change is apparent already. He's got a much stronger profile. He was always a good-looking kid, but if you look at his side view, when he had those buck teeth, if you want to call it that, his jaw was back. And what we've done is actually brought that forward as the widening has occurred.
Probably just like the uncomfortableness of like the braces, like first getting on and getting used to it and stuff like that. It's probably a bit tricky to eat and stuff like that. But it's alright. Like once you get used to it, you don't notice it anymore, and it's pretty good.
Cool. And the best part?
I'm not sure that it's like moving and you can smell better. And it's like not really too much of a difference to not having braces.
Well, I know that a lot of Charlie's friends now, so he's in year 8, so I think it was year 4
or something.
Year 4 we started coming. But a lot of his friends are only just getting braces on now. So, you know, what do you think about that, Charlie, having them off shortly? Tricky for them?
Yeah.
And the point that Beth was making is sometimes we see the kids early, like in year 4, year 5, and we do an initial burst of treatment, which is when the jaw's growing. But then it's not as though the kid's in treatment from year 4 all the way to year 8 or year 10. There's that break where they just wear a retainer.
That's right.
Maybe you weren't the world's best retainer wearer, I think, right?
He only lost 3.
Okay, but we got there in the end, So it's kind of like an initial spurt to make the room, and then we wait for the adult teeth to come through, knowing that there's space for them to come in. And I think that's vastly different the way I was taught orthodontics, like 35 years ago. I would have not treated anyone until they were in year 8 now. And they'd come along, and someone like Charlie who had the Dracula teeth stuck here, you know, and I'd say to mum, and it kind of made sense, you know, he's got big teeth, a small jaw, so the natural thing was to pull teeth out. Now I realise how bad that is for facial balance. You can see everything goes back this way rather than forward, the breathing, the position of the tongue. So there's so many benefits, and it's always good to see a patient like this and you know, follow him as a young man going into adulthood and what change it would have for him. I think his confidence with that sort of smile, the ability of he's at the age now where I guess girls are getting important. Last thing you want is
important.
You don't want 4 years of braces now, from year 8 to year 12. That's what the experience some people have.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what would you say was the most challenging part of the treatment?
Probably when those canines didn't come down on their own.
Yeah.
So we had to, Charlie had to have the chains popped on there. That wasn't very comfortable. Probably 2 or 3 days after that, he just had some Panadol. And then, when he comes in for, bracket changes, etc., it's probably sore. How long would you say it's sore for a day or two?
Or not even, just like half an hour, and then you get your mouth sort of adjust to it. And then it's like, you don't really notice it.
These Damon braces, they're light force. So sure, when they first go on, and he remembers that. The canine was something we couldn't predict. We made the room, and those canines had a mind of their own, but now we were able to guide them into position. Yeah. So look, thanks again for coming in. I really appreciate it. And I'd say, the question Isabel and I always get asked, when are these braces coming off, right? Yeah. Well, in your case, I can say probably about 2 months or so. And then we just need you to be good at wearing your retainer. Yeah. We're going to put a little wire behind your teeth this time as sort of like a belts and braces approach. And for parents who are watching, it's kind of like, I guess, 3 stages of care. There's the initial burst of treatment, which is to improve the airway, make room, change the jaw structure. We call that dentofacial orthopedics. Then there's the traditional orthodontics, which is what Charlie's going through now. They're going through it in a shorter time without needing to have teeth pulled out. And then there's the important part of treatment, which everyone seems to forget, and that is keeping the teeth straight. Now, one thing we're going to work on with Charlie, other than his retainer wear, is teaching him to have his mouth together when he sleeps, have his tongue on the palate, and we're going to give him some of the aids we give kids, which is like a little bit of tape, sometimes a thing called a sleep angel, just so that the thing I always say to parents, lips together, breathe through your nose, tongue on the palate. The tongue is actually going to be his best retainer. But as a backup, we also, because we've done so much expansion, we're going to ask him to wear that removable retainer, but not for as long as he did before. Yeah. And for parents who want to know how long should my kid wear the retainer, which is another question I always get asked, the real answer is you wear your retainer for as long as you want your teeth to stay straight, right? That doesn't mean you have to wear it every night for the rest of your life. For people like Charlie, we normally cut down to wearing it just 1 night a week. And I always say to parents, wearing a retainer 1 night a week is a small price to pay to have perfectly straight teeth for the rest of your life. Yeah. So thanks again, and we're looking forward to the day these come off.
The unveiling.
Great.